we're getting close to the Pittsburgh show. We worked on new stuff. Now let's work on updating some old stuff and maybe throw in some more new stuff. If you're new around here, hi, I'm Erica. This is August, and then there's Obi peeking around the monitor. I run a small business out of my home studio in Maryland, and I have 3 product lines. I've got my modern paper cuts, then I've got plant accessories and horse girl accessories. So we have the big Pittsburgh show coming up in a week and a half. And recently we worked on some new stuff, like we've got our little kitten design. We did the lantern cat. And even like the little party cat. Look, I added gold to his hat and his ruff. So, you know, one of the other things I said I wanted to do was update some of the older designs, because I have some designs, like the elephant and baby, that I've been making for many years. And I just don't think these two are comparable design-wise. And it's also a trend I see in sales where as the new stuff comes out, usually the older, less detailed, less skilled, whatever words you want to use, their sales start falling. And I think it's because we can all compare and that this one is better than this one. Subjectively, skill-wise, this is more detailed, has more cutouts, and it just has more detail to it versus like this being just a silhouette truly. So I started working on a couple of these because, you know, I can't help myself. So I wanted to show you specifically the elephant and baby. So if you remember, it would help if I took it out of this frame, but we are where we are. So what I've gone ahead and done with the elephant and baby, excuse me guys, you're gonna have to get out of the way, is I added like a lot of details, like these little wrinkles in the ear and like the hip and like wrinkles in the kneecap and in the trunk, you know, and then I also added them to the baby. So I think this is, you know, more alive than that. And that's where I want to go. You know, I like dynamic life, you know. So that was the elephant and baby that I worked on. Then I just quick went in and I updated, did I not bring it over? I updated the ravens a little bit. So I, you know, beefed up the feather lines. So instead of just line cuts, they actually have a shape cut out of them so you can see them more. And then I just added a few little details, like adding notches and stuff around the key. I did also change his body shape a little bit, but I'm probably the only one who notices that. We also did the raven's skull, which I think the biggest difference you'll see is in the skull itself. So before, there was no gap here between the teeth, and I feel like that outlines the fact that it's teeth more, because it was just like squiggly lines. So the squiggly lines are still there, you know, outlining the tops and bottom of the teeth. But now there's this gap so that that stands out more as part of the skull shape. And then I added like some little texture kind of notches to like this little indent in the skull and the temple part. And then, of course, I beefed up his feathers too, so you can really see them. I did the other one. Do I not have one? What am I missing? Oh, yeah, I don't have any of those cut out yet. This one, I'm pretty excited about. I did the dragon, and you can see I added some details to his wings, so they look a little more like I was going for like leathery bat type wings. So I just added these little notches to sort of define like where the bones would be. And then I added some like scale-ish textures, and then just a lot of details like where body parts overlap to define the different body parts. You know, like I added a little notch here in his elbow so that, you know, his arm isn't just, whoop, there's an arm, you know, and we've got like a little hip and a shoulder and a jaw. So that's what I've been working on. I have also done some new Pittsburgh stuff, and it's actually still on the machine. So let's peel this and take a look, and hopefully they cut out nicely. We've already got one casualty, but its duplicate appears fine, so I think it must have just been too close to the corner of the paper. Okay. I also stuck a couple pinky promises on here just to fill up the rest of the sheet. So, I think the easiest one is this new Kennywood sign. Which I guess like to describe that as like an amusement park. The only thing is I didn't create little breaks in like the O's and the D's, so like they've lost their centers. So I think the two that I've cut are usable, but I'm gonna fix that. I'm gonna fix it. Let's just be honest. So there's those two. We lost one of the inclines, which I will throw a picture up of what the incline design used to look like, which was very much the same problem the elephant and baby had, which was like true silhouette. Whereas I tried to go more design oriented with this one. Which, if you're unaware, Pittsburgh is very hilly, and they have this like train car that goes up the side of one of these hill mountains. And you can ride it. It's like run by a historic society, and it's very old and very cute. And you get to see like the whole city, like where the rivers meet and stuff like that. Excuse me. Alright, it's not fully clean, but I'm pretty happy with that. I don't know if you can really see it, but it says Pittsburgh on the incline part. And then like here's the train car, and this is like the other part of the train car that touches the tracks so that it stays horizontal. So that came out really cute. We'll have to put it on something and double check. Now, I also did this like trolley car design. And this is why I like to cut in mini first, because, you know, I like to add detail. And sometimes the scale minis is not great for that. And also this is the first time I've cut these, so, you know, we've always got to double check. Okay. It's not too bad. I think, so this line up here that says Pittsburgh, right here, I think I'm gonna make that definitely larger than it actually is so that the letters are easier to get out. Then I think there's this like headlight in the front here that has like these two little wings, and they got a little too thin, so we're going to cut that out. This was like two silver bands, and then these areas were red, right where my fingertips are. And I think it's too much open there, so I might fill in these little corners, you know, for some bounce. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty cute. You got your little windshield wiper. Above the headlight, it says 1758 or whatever, which is like when Pittsburgh was started. And then you can't really see it, so I'm not sure I'll keep it in the mini size. But right here in this little corner of the window, it says 16, which I think it was like 1816 is like when Pittsburgh went from like a fort to a real city kind of thing, like officially. I don't know. I looked it up, okay? I looked it up. So we've got some fixes for this guy. So there's one more. And this one is definitely a bit of a Pittsburgh joke. Pittsburghese. Now, I don't make it a habit to go in men's rooms. But apparently in Pittsburgh, one of the common graffiti in a men's bathroom is a little joke about checking to see if your fly is open. And so they write, "Is Kennywood open?" So I made this little zipper, like a fly, and it said, "Kennywood is open. Your fly's down." So I just thought that was fun. I'm probably not going to make a lot of them because, like, it's a little silly. And, like, I have another design, which is like a trophy that says #1 Jagoff, which is like jerk, asshole. And like, you know, every year I sell like 2 of them. This is just another little attention getter, laugh about it. You know, maybe I'll sell a couple. So we've got those. Let's get to work on fixing this tram car and the Kennywood sign. And then we'll go from there. we've got our updates from yesterday where we fixed, I don't have one out. We fixed the tram car. I did make a little change to this incline. Oh my God. Okay. Right here, I feel like this opening is like too much. It's too much. So I just took that out. I've fixed the letters in the Kennywood sign so the centers of the O's and stuff like that exist. We've got the cats we did. So let's go ahead and do the test cuts and see how everything turned out. Okay, so we've done our little test cuts. Here's the first cat. Excuse me, focus. I still have to pick all his little bits out, like he's still got cutouts in his eyes and stuff. And then we've got our little cat having a bath with his little butthole. And then you can see I fixed the letters that had like inside parts so that you can actually see them. Like, let's pick those out. You see how like the O's are still there now? So that's done. Then we did the little tram, which again, I didn't pick any of the pieces out of these, you know, so like they still need to be cleaned up. But everything cut cleanly now, and I took out these cutouts in this size so that there's like some more negative space, but much happier. And then, not very exciting, but I took that hole out of the top of the incline out. So everything's good. I'm gonna get these cleaned up. Why don't we make a few of them? So how about we make a couple of these before I have to get back to making lots of minis. All right, we've got these 4 new pieces done. So here's our little cat to replace our cat silhouette. Then we've got bath time, which, like, I'm kind of thinking of making a large version of this. And I don't know if it's a banner or something else, but like maybe a saying somewhere that says cleanliness is next to godliness. You can just picture that in someone's bathroom. Wouldn't that be so funny? Then we've got our incline, which now that I'm looking at it on camera, there's actually a bigger gap here than here, so I might have to move that. And then we've got the little tram car, which once I made it, which, like, if you can look at it from there, I actually think it could be bigger in this space, and I also think these track lines could be bigger. Actually, kind of like out of focus with me looking out on the screen, it kind of looks like a skull. But you can see what I mean. I think it could be bigger in this space. And the G in Pittsburgh is a little iffy. I suppose I could just okay, now it looks like a G. So we've got a few changes, nothing major. I think it's time to get back into makeathon for this Pittsburgh show. So I'm gonna get back to makeathon. We have like 300 minis left to make, and we have a week. So I will see you in the next one, and we'll probably be doing some makeathon, and then we'll go through setup and some show days and all that kind of stuff. So I'll see you there.